just settle in here.
You got your stuff? You got it.
Yeah, all set.
I got any drink? You got any drinks?
Yeah, I got a sody. A sody.
Oh shit! You see that beeping?
Oh, we got a message.
We got a voicemail.
Yeah, I think we got a message. Yeah, voicemail.
You want to check that?
Yeah. Go ahead and hit it.
All right.
Hey, you've reached the voicemail of Who's Your Main?
With Jared?
And Anthony.
Please leave a message after the beep.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Who's Your Main?
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
You want to talk about having zero tolerance?
It's
for
zero.
Oh, okay.
It's time for MMOs and RPGs, really any game in general, but mainly those. Start taking more risks. Get back to taking risks. I think we live in a world where it's all about what can we do for a yearly release from these big developers? How can we guarantee that this game makes money? How can we guarantee this game has good reviews for the foreseeable future? And you stick to the same old vanilla formula. Tired of it. I'm tired of the Holy Trinity in MMOs.
He's going on about MMOs.
Just the classic
He's on one.
fucking archetypes that you get in these MMOs nowadays. It's time to innovate. Give me more. You rarely see it nowadays. Give me the ability to mix and match my magic. Let me create my own spells. Let me create my own. Let me discover and find and create combos with my weapons. Let me hot swap weapons in the middle of combat. I feel like you just don't see that often anymore. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's something that we've been lacking for a while now. I think indie games are making a comeback, but as much as I love indie games, all my games still look pretty in current graphics, Stop gatekeeping all that stuff, But oh well. Maybe we'll have it one day. Maybe it will return. Maybe it won't. And we'll just have the relics of the past to focus on. I think one day I hold on to the hope that one day we'll get back to a time where you can actually be creative with your character in RPGs, whether they be MMOs or single player RPGs. But we'll see. Anyway, that's it. Take care.
Well, that's a pretty good voicemail to walk into today at the Who's Your Main studio. He's made a lot of good points, folks. Thanks for joining us today. Obviously, this is Who's Your Main. I'm Jared, and this is my co-host.
I'm Anthony.
We're almost good at this intro thing, but anyway. Yeah, that's a pretty good point. MMOs don't really take too many risks anymore, but there's not very many out there anymore that really do that. 14's got its big keynote stuff. Maybe I ought to pull Zero in here someday, try to get him on the way home and get him to talk about some of those changes that were coming up for that game. But yeah, there was something magical about the old days and some of those old games that we could have that full creativity, Blue Mage Insanity and fucking Materia and Final Fantasy VII kind of deal. I'm trying to think of some games. You got some games off the top of your head that do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that I thought of was Elder Scrolls, where you can kind of make your own spells and, do those kind of things that he's talking about. Now, granted, that's not an MMO. That's a single player experience, and you really break the game when you start doing that stuff. But I think that's what he's talking about, is like that idea of, yes, you can push the boundary and push the limits in those I should say in the very early Elder Scrolls games. Once you get to Skyrim, no more of that. You get fireball and lightning and ice, and that's it.
You can combine the fire and make a bigger fire.
Yeah, okay, that's not what we want. But yeah, I totally get what he's saying about, even something as simple as hot swappable weapons. I think that's something where, a weapon defines who you are as a person. And so it's like, yes, I carry this big sword because I'm a brave knight. And then you get into battle and it's like, well, this doesn't really feel like who I'm trying to represent, but it's got the highest stats. so I have to use it because that's what my class is supposed to use. I hate that. I can't stand that. I think every single character should be who, in your mind's eye, who you're trying to create. That's who you should be able to do, even if you have to take an inferior weapon or inferior gear. That should be a choice. So yeah, I agree with that too.
I think you and I are we're reverse engineer min-maxers, where we get to the maximum and then we reverse it down to how can I still have my cake and eat it too within the power limits? It's like, yes, that is the best build in the game. Get that shit out of my face. I already know about that. And it was very fun to play, but now I want to play with this. Well, it's not obscure, but it's a less used thing, but I'm not using it because it's less used. It's because I came up with this idea for this character I want to be, and it uses that. And I want to maximize that thing's ability.
Well, there you go. We solved Zero's problem. The game that he wants to play is Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
Don't go down that dark road today, mister.
You want to play a druid, but you think the druid class sucks? Build your own druid.
Okay.
Yeah, I may or may not have accidentally built a druid necromancer, but whatever.
I'm like, Anthony, play a different class. He's like, of course, no problem. Starts playing a druid, starts making fucking making plants go into dead bodies and lift them up. And I'm like, this is just necromancer with more steps. Please stop.
You said play a different class.
He did say that, folks. But yeah, that would be really cool. Some of the other thing I think that is being talked about here, Final Fantasy XI exists, but I don't know that much about it, but I do know that you can do like subclasses and things like that. I feel like we mentioned this before, but the people playing Final Fantasy XI figured out how to take Ninja, normally a damage-dealing, stealthy, dexterous class, and turned it into a dodge tank, like a tank. And I thought that was really cool. That's a really awesome thing. But, Final Fantasy games, specifically Final Fantasy Tactics is what I'm thinking of, where you could take a class, you could unlock it, and then you would have a subclass where you could be a white mage with black mage spells, or a black mage with white mage spells. I feel like that's probably why they omitted red mage from Tactics, because you kind of could just be one, Yeah. You could take a fucking weapon and whack people with it and cast spells of red and black like it was there. But 11 does that too with the subclass. Originally, 14 did have kind of a subclass feature where I remember I was playing Warrior back then in A Realm Reborn and some of 1.0. But when I was playing Warrior, the only way to get Provoke was to level a Gladiator, which is the Paladin, up to level 22, which was a slog because the max was fucking level 50, and I didn't want to play a Paladin or a Gladiator, but you had to do it to get that ability, or you just would be in trouble as a tank.
Yeah. Once again, there you go. It's an ability that's so powerful that everybody has to take it. It's the ivory tower that we're always talking about, where, sure, you can make whatever choice you want as long as you make the right choice. You can get whatever car you want, Henry Ford, as long as it comes in black. I just hate that idea and that mindset of you have to do these things so that you can be a proficient tank, or you can be a proficient DPS or a healer or whatever. Even like what Zero said, the fact that there are these 3 trifectas and these 3 archetypes that you have to fit into, and everybody's trying to fit into that, a square peg into a round hole. Maybe it is time to break that away and get rid of it. I think with our group, we very quickly discovered that you and I are good at playing flex roles, where maybe this time through we need 2 tanks, or we need a tank and a healer, or maybe one of us has to play DPS. That should be the option all the time in every single encounter. That should be the option. Is like, you know what? I'm sick of tanking, but I'm going to keep this same character, and that character is now going to be a healer, or this character is going to be a DPS, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You should be able to do whatever you want with whatever character you want. Like you said with the ninja in 11, it's like, yeah, I can't stand there and tank hits, so I'm going to be the guy who can't be touched, and I can still be the tank, even though I'm not doing it in the traditional sense. Why not? I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I know you're kind of alluding to your knowledge of Overwatch, which is kind of what I was thinking there too. But the coolest thing that came out of Overwatch that I think came into MMOs was Moira and her doing damage to heal. And then they took that and they made their Discipline Priest. This is all within Blizzard. And they took Discipline Priest and they turned that into an attack healer. And you would put stuff on people so that when you were attacking, that they got residual healing from you, and that was where primarily all your healing came from. And it was so cool. And I was like, yeah, we need that. We need that kind of stuff. And then they made Paladin into a fucking melee healer. Instead of standing in the back, you run up and you fucking whack dudes and that heals people. Like, that's fucking sick, dude. We need that kind of stuff. We need, like, if we're going to keep healing, we're going to keep, some semblance of the Trinity. Mostly because I don't know if I have the capacity to think outside of that triangle. What is on the outside of the triangle? I don't know. MMOs used to try. They used to try. I can remember Guild Wars 2 trying to break out of the Trinity in MMOs. And I don't know. If you don't know what the Trinity is, folks, and you're trying to keep up, the Holy Trinity of MMOs was, I don't know where it originated. If it was like Ultima or fucking EverQuest or whatever, but Blizzard came out on top of that anyway with Warcraft, and the Trinity is a tank, so someone who holds the attention of the creatures, and they usually are like some kind of a warrior with a shield and a big sword or something. And then they call this other role DPS, which is an abbreviation for damage per second. So really it just means they do the damage. They can't do anything else but the damage. And then the other part of that Trinity is the fucking healer who just heals everybody. And now in Warcraft, healing was, you were very coded to just heal, and that was all you could do. You really could not, you didn't have the mana pool to do anything but heal it. And a lot of times you would just stand there waiting for your spirit to like kick back in so you get a little bit of mana regen during the fight. So you just be standing there waiting to heal people, which some people really like that. And that's a very, it's kind of a fucking litmus test or a fucking gamer astrology. Like, which of the three pillars are you from? Not a lot of people are from the healer and tank role, A lot of people in damage. And, 14 kind of championed the whole, fucking healers and tanks damage matters too, and healers have to do damage in Final Fantasy 14 or we could die, because part of healing is mitigation, and a dead monster is one that can't do damage. So I can see the thought process there, but yeah, that's what we're talking about with the Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that it's lasted so long is because it is a good system. I do think that is a very good way of doing things. And like you said, that box is there for a reason. It's because people like to fit into those roles and do those things. And breaking outside of that is not only a hard thing to do mechanically, but it also requires a lot of creativity that maybe, like I certainly don't know. I don't have that skill. I like to have a preset build made before I even go into a game and be like, okay, this is the character that I'm going to make. Everything that I do is going towards unlocking those different stages of power-ups. And then once I get to the end, that's my character. There will be no deviations. And it's very hard for me to go outside of that. And so I could see why it's hard to break the Trinity. But I agree. I think it has to happen in some way or you start to stagnate. I don't want to play an MMO where I have to play the same character for 600 hours, and then by the end of it, I'm the same character that I was 600 hours ago. That, to me, that's not fun. I don't think I would have fun doing that. Now, and the flip side of that coin is I also don't have a solution. I don't, like you said, maybe you kind of blend DPS into those other roles, but I don't think that's a great solution either, because a person who's healing is there for a reason. They're there because they want to do that job, not because they're like, oh, well, I can't be DPS, so I guess I'll be a healer, but man, I wish I could drop supernovas on people and be a warlock instead. I'm sure there are those people, who want that, but there has to be another option, and there has to be some kind of like a hybrid system, or maybe even a system where it breaks the trinity altogether. I don't know how to fix that, but yeah, that's the problem of MMOs, is just it's an always on game where you play that for so long and the mechanics become so ingrained in you that they eventually become stagnant and boring. And it's like, I want something different. What can you offer me? And the game's literally, like Zero alluded to earlier, because it's a yearly release and because they're constantly having to pump out content, they're like, we don't have anything else for you. We can do these character deconstructs and we can patch things and we can make new things, but it's probably going to be the same things you've seen before. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is there.
Right. And I know you haven't played a ton of MMOs, and I know you come from a single player background mostly. Me playing Warcraft for forever and then trying other MMOs over the years. There were some really good ones that really did make an impact in the genre, but probably don't have a lot of like respect on them anymore. There was one called Rift that came out. I remember being pretty excited about it because zones would have these dynamic events that would like occur and you could like affect them. And if you knocked back these rifts, it would progress that story in that rift until you completed it and saw a boss or whatever. And then we come to see that happen in 14 with fates and things like that. And that's not really where I was going, but Rift itself had an incredible class system where you really could just mix and match classes and make healer tanks and make ninja tanks and healer damage dealers and healers and tanks. You know, it was a very dynamic class system. It was a very cool game that just fell apart. I don't know the exact history of that game, but yeah, when it comes to MMOs, I think the reason that games like 11 and 14 and Warcraft and even SWTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic, I think the reason those games are still running up and going in Guild Wars is because they've remained dynamic and they've changed their game. They've added content. They've added different classes that do different things. Right now, 14 is it was kind of reaching a precipice of its game design where they slowly had pushed themselves into what they call the 2-minute meta, where everything kind of occurred in 2 minutes, 2-minute intervals. So a 10 or 15-minute fight would have all these 2-minute intervals on time, like clockwork, that you had to do, and the design has become stale, where it was probably fun at one point, and maybe some people still think it's pretty fun. The developers and I think the community itself is seeing kind of like this design, not flaw, but just like direction that's kind of gotten old. And so I think Zero's really kind of coming from that place right now, especially since we're just looking to the future of gaming in general. You and I were just talking about some of that stuff. And so seeing 14 maybe coming to this like really magical time in an MMO where it fucking just changes. It just changes completely. It happened in Warcraft. It happened in other games. And some people, you know, they look back on the old game and they're like, man, it was so much better then. And so, and people like how, you know, it changed, how that MMO changed. I mean, Phantasy Star, that was one that Zero introduced us to. We were playing Phantasy Star 2 in New Genesis, where it's a really weird story about how they made Phantasy Star 2, and it was really successful, and it was really good, and they had made all these changes, they had all these classes, and then they wanted to do the next one, 3, but instead they just tacked it on to 2, and so it's this really weird double MMO game that you can play, where your character can transfer between the two games. And New Genesis is like a completely different gameplay style than Phantasy Star Online 2. And so a lot of people are longing for the oldness of Phantasy Star Online 2, PSO2 for short, I guess. And so we're seeing people like, oh, I want that to be a private server. And then like, is that change going to be good for 14? But those risk takes, you know, Sega made a big risk take to change Phantasy Star into this other thing. And it was kind of not successful, but it did kind of do some of the things that we're talking about where there really weren't like strong roles in that game, but I don't know. I just think it's a really fun like thought process to think about, like, oh, how could it be different? How could it be, and that, I just like what he said, and I'm gushing about different video games, and I've lost my point.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't mess with the money, and when you make changes, you're messing with the money, and so that can be a hard thing to swallow as a developer, is sitting there going like, well, we're already making money, why would we make changes? And you can never please everybody. There's always going to be the squeaky wheel, and not saying that these are squeaky wheel issues. These are legitimate issues that I agree with on a lot of points. Even though I don't play MMOs, I think a lot of the things that I don't like about MMOs are exactly what Zero was talking about. I just experienced them in a much more condensed fashion, by playing out. However, I forget how long it took me to beat A Realm Reborn, maybe 60 hours or something like that. But it's like, I had a lot of complaints with that, where it's like, okay, well, the game gets a lot better if you just keep going. And it's like, well, how much do I need to invest before the game starts giving me something back where I'm like, I really enjoy this, I'm going to keep going, versus, well, just keep playing and eventually it'll get good. I understand that. I get that the game is incredible. There were a lot of fun things that I experienced in that game that you could not get in another experience. I have a bunch of really fun screenshots that are basically just like the insanity that happened in Lemsa, where it was like, that is my brand of degeneracy. I love that so much. And I could totally see myself getting lost in that world. But the problem is, in order to exist in that world, there are things that you have to do that I don't like doing. I don't like interacting with that many people. I don't like every aspect of the game being online and requiring other people to do. And so my problems with the game are less about, like these things that you guys are talking about, the nitty gritty. Mine's more of a step backwards and kind of the, instead of the micro, this is the macro problem that I have, which is like, I can't stand the idea of being like, okay, time to get on and do my fun time. And it's like, and there's that aspect of socialization that comes with it. And I love hanging out with people. I love hanging out with my friends. I love talking to them, all of that stuff. But then there are also those moments of like, okay, well, I don't want those two things to blend together. I don't want my video game time to blend into my socializing time. Those almost need to be two separate buckets. And I don't think that can be solved with an MMO. I just don't think that I can enjoy that type of a game. I would much rather, like you said, I would much rather play a single player experience and talk to my friends about it and be like, oh guys, I was streaming and this crazy thing happened, or I was playing alone and this crazy thing happened. And then we can share that experience that way. I don't know. That's a whole separate can of worms that has nothing to do with the argument, that Zero or you were bringing up either. But like, those are some major gripes that I have about MMOs. I'm not playing the game. I'm thinking about playing the game, if that makes sense. Like, me playing an MMO isn't me playing the MMO. It's me, like, I'm not immersed into the game because I can never fully immerse myself because I'm being me, if that makes sense. Like, I'm playing me as a character. And so I don't know. That's a whole nother thing of MMOs just not meshing with me as a person.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I like to go down that road and think about that. MMOs in general, like Warcraft was very much like a multiplayer experience. I mean, not all the way, not like 11 was when it came out. 11 was like, form a party, level 1. That's the only way to do anything. And like, that's super intimidating to someone like me. I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't want to fucking play with a bunch of randos, It would have to be a strong knit, group. Warcraft, it was like, hey, you've got to the dungeon. If you want to do a dungeon, you don't have to. You can sell a level all day, but it's not the same kind of an experience that you would have in a single-player video game where the story is centralized around the character that you made and things like that. Or the story's been centralized around the character that the developers have made. And so I think games like fucking Final Fantasy XIV and Star Wars: The Old Republic Online, SWTOR, they both really focused in on a narrative experience that was very highly almost single player focused, except when you got to the dungeons, and then you had to do the dungeons, but there was no way to solo them. And so 14's been slowly leaking in some of this kind of things they call duty support in the trust system from 11. And they've really started to put that into the game as like a single player alternative, because really the narrative is such a single player experience. It's so hard to focus on the story when a bunch of people are yapping at you in a voice channel. You know, you can't really respect the story in my way, I should say. Maybe other people can sift through that, but I can't. And I think that 14 is one. That's one of the things that it really offers, is that single player multiplayer experience where you can decide to meet up with your friends and run dungeons. But really, when you're leveling, quote unquote, because you don't really level up traditionally in 14. Like in Warcraft, it's a race to the fucking top. You could just not give a flying fuck about anything that's happening in the story and in the world. But 14's like, no, I'm telling you a story, sit down. And you're like, okay. And you have to. So really, that's your level, is where you're at in the MSQ. They call it the main story scenario, quests, whatever. And so that's really what it's aimed at. And I really think that they've been pushing harder for that, because if you really think about where Final Fantasy came from, it was very single player oriented. And so I think they're trying to kind of put that into 14, because that will kind of code it to be to be Final Fantasy more. I would really like to see the companion system totally brought in, where you can like fucking gear your buddies, and you take them into dungeons and you go through the story with them. That would be so cool. And then you can actually make the story decisions and build like relationships or whatever. That would be so cool. But that's not really on the table. But, I like to think about that, because MMOs in general, like you said, are like this big social obligation. Like sometimes when I log in, I don't want to start anything because it's a social obligation with not just like my friends or something, but it could be with total strangers. And now I'm messing with somebody's game time, and that puts a lot of stress on me, and I'm just like, I don't really want to fuck with your game time, because I know how limited and valuable mine is. So I still really love MMOs. I really like classes and building a guy, and RPGs in general are something that I just really value. So yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I don't think MMOs are for everybody, but 14 is probably more so for a single player kind of experience. If you're looking for that, it's there. It might get better in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a pull to go back and keep playing and play more. The best thing that I can compare it to is the same feeling that I got when I played Animal Crossing on the Switch, which is the game very clearly tells you, you have this entire world to explore. You can do anything you want. And the game is like, explore this at your own pace. Enjoy this at your own pace. Do whatever you want to do. And I have a huge problem with that, because I'm like, I need you to tell me how to have fun. I need you to give me a list of things to do. I'll check off the list. Give me a collection guide. I'll collect them. Give me a list of fish you want me to catch. I'll catch them. And it's like, I'll do all of that stuff. The problem is when you give me 1,000 of those lists and then you hand them to me, and it's like, do whatever you want that you enjoy, and you're going to have fun doing this. I sit there and I freak out, and I was like, it's too much. I have to do it all. Achievements. How do I get all the achievements? And like my brain short circuits, because I'm sitting there going like, okay, let's go fishing, and then we'll do the duty support, and I'll try to craft gear, and it's like, it's too much fun. And my brain short circuits, and then it's like, it turns into, not only am I having too much fun, it switches over to like, now I'm having no fun because I'm stressing about how much fun I should be having, and I'm not. And it's like, okay, not for me. But yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the stuff that I am attracted to in the game is, like you said, there's so many opportunities where the game just lets you go do your own thing. And then you can come back and kind of have those social moments where it's like, this is a ton of fun too. And it's a separate thing. Like I really enjoyed running through, I don't remember what it was called, the dungeon that I ran through with you and your brother That was really fun.
Palace of the Dead.
Yeah. Palace of the Dead, where I was able to kind of catch up to you guys, and that was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that. That was kind of like a taste of what my class could do if I was given a little juice and able to catch up. I was like, that's fun. That lets me know that I am in the right class. I'm doing the thing that I enjoy. And even though, maybe I wasn't piloting it correctly, I was having fun failing. I think that's the important thing too, is it has to be fun to fail. Otherwise, you're going to quit. And I was having fun failing. I thought that was fun. It was fun to enjoy the game and, celebrate our victories and laugh at our defeats. That was fun. I really enjoyed my time in 14, and it makes me wish that I could, devote that much time back into it and play more. And that's the other thing too, is just like the time investment that you have to have. 6 months out of the year, I can't give the game the time that it deserves. And then when it comes time to, football season's over and it's like, okay, you can play whatever you want to play. What do you want to do? And it's like, I have this giant backlog looming over me, like, the shadows of Ganondorf. And it's like, I should probably play some of those games too, I guess. I don't know.
Did you say Ganondorf for? Huh?
No.
What did you say Ganondorf for?
No, I didn't say Ganondorf. I said Ganondorf. Different game.
I'm watching you. You made me forget what I was going to say about 14. Yeah, this has become a big fucking Final Fantasy 14 fucking, I don't know, praise fest. But yeah, 14 really is that game. I mean, you got to think about it. Each expansion, including ARR, is like a year's worth of content of stuff to do. Like if you just locked in and only did stuff for ARR, you could play that for the whole year. But it's going to take you 10 fucking years to catch up to where we're at. And by then, there may be another 10 years of fucking content. So you really, like you said, you kind of have to be able to pick and choose what things to focus on. And like a game like Warcraft, it's really easy to know what to do. Like you just fucking rush to fucking endgame, you run your fucking dungeons, and then you can do hard mode content, and you don't give a fuck. And in 14, it's like MSQ is a thing that you can just do, and that can be the only thing you play the game for. There's a guy that I really fucking love. I'll see if I can find a fucking screenshot or something to put, but his name is Randy Robandy.
Oh yeah, I was hoping you'd talk about him.
And there's a location in the game called the Golden Saucer, and it's kind of like a fun house in the game where you can go and you can play cards, but it's not like cards. It's Triple Triad from Final Fantasy VIII. You can play that. There's some other mini games that come up every 20 minutes. There's Air Force One from Final Fantasy VII. There's Chocobo Racing from Final Fantasy VII, including Chocobo breeding. There's Verminion, which is a play on some other game that Squaresoft made. I think it was Squaresoft. I can't remember the name of the game. It's something like that they did. And that's based on your minions, and it's a RTS-esque game that you can play in there. There's all these like other little mini games that were from Final Fantasy VII, like shoot the basketball, punch the guy, and then there's like there's some jump puzzles that come up every 20 minutes, and those are really fun. Well, anyway, there was a guy in there, and he played a Rogadin, which is this big hulking man, and he wore the a Moogle helmet, so he looked like a giant Moogle in a white mage robes. So this is a bunch of Final Fantasy references right there. But then his Randy Robandy, and fucking I always call him Bobandy, and I'd see him all the time, and I'm like, God, he was so good at all the games. He would always be done. He would win slices right. He would win anywhere the wind blows. And then he would do like these big elaborate emotes, and you'd be like, God damn, he's so cool. And so I would see him all the time because I was trying to save up enough gold saucer points to buy different mounts and crap in the game. And finally, I just started talking to him because you would see him all the time. I was like, dude, you're so fucking cool. You're like the coolest guy ever. We're typing. And he's like, yeah, you're cool too, man. He's just being really nice. I'm like, dude, like, are you always in here? Do you ever do it? He's like, oh, no, I only play the gold saucer. And as soon as my MGP is capped, I don't log back in. And so when they make a new thing, he must resub, come to the Gold Saucer, buy it, and then plays only Golden Saucer stuff till he's re-maxed out his fucking MGP and then quits the game. There's an example right there of some stupid ass thing that you could focus on that game. And it's like that. You could just focus on the fucking chocobo racing within the Gold Saucer, or the fucking Triple Triad card game in the Gold Saucer, or Verminion. And that, like, you know, it's ridiculous. Or just fishing. There's a fucking fishing Discord called Fishcord where people who play the game track the fish in the game because they only appear at certain times and stuff, and they tell you what kind of baits to use and how to play the fishing minigame because it's so elaborate. It's insane. So it's very overwhelming.
You say fishing minigame, you know, like I think most people who haven't played 14, their head goes to like Stardew Valley or something like that. That's not what it is. It's a rotation. It's an MMO rotation where you use the fish that you catch as bait to catch bigger fish, or you can, it's just insane. When I did that, I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I expect from 14 fishing. It's perfect. I love it. I have a ton of respect for the people who max out their fishing and, you know, like you said, can catch all of the fish and get all of that stuff done. That's insane to me. That's like, that to me is just as impressive as fishing in real life. That's awesome.
I just think it's ridiculous. Anytime they add something to 14, I just expect to have to get a fucking spreadsheet out to do. Like, it starts out with, like, this is kind of fun, and then you're, like, sweating at the end doing math. Like, how the fuck do I fucking do this shit? Absolutely every minigame is that in 14. It's never a simple thing. People were like, we want fucking Pokemon battles in 14. They were like, no problem. They make Verminion. It's this fucking elaborate-ass fucking RTS game where each minion has all these different stats blocks that you have to fucking know to be able to build a team to be able to do that RTS game. And it's really tough and very quick, but all the points matter.
Yeah. That's insane.
What the fuck?
Mean, you know, even the fact that there is the Gold Saucer in the game and that there are all of those options, that's crazy. I mean, like, when you introduced the game to me, you did essentially what is the perfect way to introduce me to the game, which is like you know, showed me the ropes, showed me how to play, showed me all of the core mechanics and all that stuff. The Palace of the Dead, like you said, that gave me a little taste of the end game. That was really fun. And then it was basically just like, okay, go have fun, you know, go do your own thing. I'm going to go do my stuff. You go do your stuff. Go grind through the MSQ and I'll see you when you need me. And I just got lost in the towns. There's so much stuff to do everywhere that you go. The environments are so varied and different and cool. There's a lot of that kind of like Magitech, cyberpunk aesthetic in some zones, and other zones are much more, you know, like lower tier, lower tech stuff. I love that. I love the diversity of that. I love the idea that, you know, you can have these different zones that are so vastly different, and yet somehow they still feel connected into this world and the story of 14. The game has these incredible characters that, you know, that are larger than life in some areas, and other characters, you know, you love to hate them because they're just so annoying and they have you do stuff that you don't want to do. I know we had the running joke, I forget what it's called, but our little like faction that you joined in the game, we were looking up to the big woman. Big woman. So we joined her team right away because we were just like, yeah, big woman, we'll fight for you.
I've never left the Maelstrom. You can switch between the three grand companies, and I'm a simp for Merylweb Blowfistwin. That's how you say her name. She's the fucking admiral of the fucking pirate city. Like, bro, I'm not leaving the pirate city with a fucking hottie boombalati fucking mama jamba ass fucking bitch. Like, holy fuck, dude. You guys hug your trees. You guys kick your sand. I'm with this woman. Big woman. Yeah, I love that. That's some fucking, I don't know. The grand companies are so cool, but I mean, that game is just very fun, especially for like old Final Fantasy people, but people who don't know shit about Final Fantasy. I got a lot of friends that don't really know anything about Final Fantasy, and they love that game, and it's because it's very Final Fantasy in story writing. All the things that you see in in the past games are there within the writing, like the really elaborate stories and the twists and the turns and the ups and the downs and the deaths and just everything that's just so Final Fantasy to me. Maybe the game doesn't really play like a Final Fantasy game all the way, but that's not a problem for me in an MMO context. But I mean, going back to what Zero was saying, you know, I really do hope that with the changes that are coming for 14 or maybe other MMOs, that we see some real risk taking, because that genre needs it. That genre needs it. It's just getting very stale. It's very predictable for old graybeards like us. We're like, okay, tank that one. That one's a shield tank. That one's not shield tank. You know, kind of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely a, not necessarily like a fatigue, but I think there's definitely that feeling of like, you've seen it all, you've done it all. What else can you show me type of deal? And I think one of the big problems, this is kind of my soapbox and something that I'm very passionate about, because one of the games that I love is affected by this. If you are going to release a game every year, the quality of the game is going to suffer because of that. I really love the Madden franchise. Playing football games. I love those.
Oh, wait, Foxy, sorry if you're listening.
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly why I'm doing this, is because, you know, we listen to our fans and all of that crap or whatever. You used to sit there and tell me we can't talk about football, Blood Bowl, wrestling, and all that, because I'm a red-blooded American. I'll talk about whatever the hell I want. Anyway, now I forgot what I was going to make a point.
Sorry.
Yearly release of games, the quality of the game is always going to suffer.
Yeah.
And so if 14 is going to sit there and go like, we're going to have these big sweeping changes, I think it's very safe to roll your eyes at that and be like, okay, big sweeping changes. Yeah, we know what that means. You're going to balance the numbers so that the class that you came out as the last big release that was super overpowered, you fine tune that back down to normal. And then the class that everybody's playing, you nerf that and all of this stuff. I think the thing that is missing the most, and the thing that you and I love to do in a game like Baldur's Gate, is we love breaking the game. We love finding what does something that nobody else can do, and then we do that, and then it's like, whoa, that was fun. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a ton of damage or, you know, anything like that. Just that feeling of, I did something that nobody else did with this class, and now this class is mine because I feel like I have an attachment to that. That feeling of like, whoa, I really broke this down to its core elements, and then because I understood the rules, I was able to break the rules. That to me is something that I think was a feeling that you didn't necessarily get. You know, like I was playing a ninja in 14, and I thought it was very cool that, you know, you have these hand signals and the hand symbols, and if you got your spells correctly, then that would produce an effect, and if you got it wrong, you know, it would summon a little white rabbit on your head, and it was like, well, dummy, you messed up. I love that. I love the negative reinforcement. I love the positive reinforcement of it. That felt really cool, but you can't break that. You know, you can't input a secret input and then you summon like the death summon from Naruto, and you know, you go in and you kill everybody. You can't do that. You have to follow the rules of 14. And I think maybe that's something that's missing, is that element of, like when we got to the end of Baldur's Gate, you and I felt like we had broken our characters. You were literally flinging people around like they were ragdolls. I was firing Eldritch Blasts, like 20 of them in one turn. We were able to bring down dragons and, you know, like all of the in-game bosses and stuff. And it was like, that felt really cool, even though we were playing within the realm of the game. We were doing what the game allowed us to do, but it felt like we were breaking the rules. And I think there needs to be an element of that. You know, it's like, yes, I'm a tank, but now all of a sudden I'm a super tank. Yeah, I'm a healer, but now all of a sudden I'm a super healer. You know, so, and maybe the you can get that with like an ultimate move or something like that. You can do a limit break, and maybe that's a change that they can do, because the limit breaks felt very weird to me in 14. I didn't understand you got the tiers and they get stronger and all of that. I understood the mechanics of it, but it felt very weird to me that anybody could just pop off and do it. I don't know. Maybe that's that's a place where they could work in some improvements.
Well, fuck yeah, the limit system is just not Final Fantasy to me. I don't like it. I don't like that that's the limit break. I don't like that. It's like your group builds up limit break and then anybody can use the limit break. Whereas like Final Fantasy VII, where limit breaks really originate. I know we got desperation attacks from Final Fantasy VI, okay? You don't be sending me any fucking angry messages. But limit breaks in Final Fantasy VII is, you built up the bar and then that character did the limit break and each character had their own limit bar. That does exist in 14, but it's in PvP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, put that in the fucking other thing. I don't want to share limit bar.
Exactly.
Stupid.
Yeah. I mean, that's something right there where, like, if you dissect that piece alone in a vacuum, I think there's a gray area of improvement. Why isn't that a team up attack? Why isn't it everybody in the raid all teaming up and they do, kind of like a flurry of blows type of situation where it's like, you get to use my powers and my powers combined with yours, and now all of a sudden it's something different.
That would be sick.
That'd be an awesome way to do it. I don't know. There's just a lot of...
Gives everybody a juice. That would be cool.
Gives everybody like some kind of crazy power up. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that you could do differently to make that feel good. I'm
sure it's talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way that it's not talked about, how they're like, yeah, we jammed that shit in there and it's been a timepiece of the game at this point. At 10 years, it's Final Fantasy now, right? That's just it.
Yeah, true.
But, I don't know. They definitely could. They definitely could do a lot of different things. I don't know how difficult it would be to design a game that can do what Baldur's Gate 3 did in a fucking MMO action RPG setting. But like you said, just being able to make not just barbarian, but explosive fire barbarian.
Oh my gosh.
Was such a fun, like, can I do this?
Yeah.
Is it possible? There's all these like pieces. I can see all these pieces and they're set out before me. And I'm like, can I combine these pieces in a way that makes something good? I think that's where I get locked in. I don't really care about doing something different from somebody else. I just want to know if I can do the thing that I'm thinking of. If I can do that, then you've got me.
Exactly.
Like if I could take this piece and do this and then it works and I'll be like, like, wow.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted right there. I got to do the thing that I wanted because, using 14 as an example again, there's not really a me like expression in that game. I don't have my thing in there. I keep reaching for it. I mean, they did add Picto, so you can say that's for me, and it really is. But when I play a fantasy game, I want the big fucking dumbass who throws people and throws shit and has a fucking tree for a weapon, a log. And where's that guy? But I don't want to have to tank because that seems too like purposeful, and big dummy guy doesn't do that.
Right.
He doesn't go, I'm protecting. Me help you, Shirk. To you, it's your turn. There's no your turn with that kind of a character. He's just like, rah! Grabs you by the face and screams and spittle goes onto your face. Like,
right.
That guy. Where's he in 14? He's not there. Just flippy dippy.
I think that's something that maybe there's where you could poke a hole in the Holy Trinity is in Baldur's Gate. You get 4 characters, and you and I, when we played, I took 2, you took 2. And for all intents and purposes, you never really had to watch out for me, and I never really had to watch out for you. Obviously, there were situations where it was like, "Hey, you're running a little low. I'm gonna heal you," or "Hey,
Anthony, throw me a spear."
Yeah, throw me a spear. I'm gonna cast haste on you, and or we all group up and we throw a potion on the ground and it affects all of us. Of course, those things happen. But for 90% of the game, I focused on my stuff, you focused on your stuff, and a lot of the times we would go into a fight and be like, "Did you change your class?" No, and then all of a sudden we've got 15 summons, and it's like, yeah, maybe I did.
Hey, well, we got 30 guys on the screen.
Maybe there's an element of that could make 14 where it's like, I'm not responsible for the party, and I know that sounds selfish, but I'm not responsible for the party. I'm responsible for my character, and my character is going to do something that maybe is, and I'm not saying like everybody turns into DPS and, we're all soldier now. What I'm saying is like you get to build your big dummy, and I get to build my irradiated ghoul, and I just fire off Eldritch Blast. You know, like I get to build the character that I want to build. You build the character you want to build, and it's like, is it optimized? No. Can we beat the boss? Yes, and that's what matters. And the other thing that I think is equally important, we had a ton of fun, and when we would go into a fight, there were always those moments where it was like, hey, wait a minute. Everybody stand back for a second. Let me see if I can solo this. Like, there needs to be that in 14 where it's like you go up to the big boss and it's like, I'm the Grand Poobah, I'm gonna kill you all, and you just like turn back to the raid of 14 people or whatever it is, and it's like, don't worry guys, I got this, and then you just get absolutely stomped into the ground, and it's like, help me, help me,
help me, help me.
Like there needs to be those moments of like, I'm a character, you know what I mean? I'm playing a character, and that character is stupid and dumb, and they make bad decisions, or they're the hero. You win that 1v1, and then everybody sits back like we're, it's like we're in a tournament arc or something, and it's like, pretty good fight, I'll get the next one. Give me those moments in 14. Why is that not a thing?
Yo-Yo Hakusho.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Thinking about it now and thinking about Zero as a person, he does come from a strong background of tabletop gaming, specifically, I think, D&D. And I think that us old graybeards, once again, in that hobby, fucking tabletop RPGs are the place where Holy Trinity doesn't exist. And people come and try to put it on there, and they're like, who's going to play the healer? And then Zero goes, you don't need a healer.
If I die, I die. If he dies, he dies.
We can just all die. Yeah, it's fine. I got health potions. I run it under a cold tap.
Who's the healer? And then I go to raise my hand, and you smack me on the back of the head. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, pulling it down. Pulls his arm. Nope.
No, he's not.
Not you.
No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Do not let him heal you.
I can raise people. What is a necromancer but just a healer that was late?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
You have my axe, and you have your brother.
Yeah, and you can have my bow in my axe, and your brother, you from the back.
Yeah.
Stop!
Quit it!
No! Put him back!
I love that. You know what? That's the other thing, too, is like...
It's good flesh.
You and I like to play these like Mega Mind level villains, where it's like, we're the bad guys. Should we help those people over there? Yeah, we'll help them, but we're the bad guys. Like, we love that trope.
Yeah, we're going to help them because we're going to rule over them, okay? You can't hurt what I rule over. And those people are like, you don't rule over us.
Shush. We don't fight the bad guys because they're bad guys, but because they're doing it wrong. It's like, not like that, you idiots.
Yeah.
Like this.
Presentation.
Yeah. Like, give me that character. Give me the character who's the Megamind character.
Yeah. I just like to play the Hulk, basically, I guess is what it is now. I've been thinking about that. It's not the Hulk, though, because the Hulk has all that complexity. I'm just over there playing an orc that's picking his nose.
Yeah.
You're like, get him! Get him! Okay. Double down!
Oh, my God. I don't know how much of this story we keep in. You can you can cut this out if this turns into nothing sandwich. But I was hanging out with my niece today, and it's long story short, the cat got let outside. I took it over to my mom and dad's house. Cat got let outside. He ran off into the woods because he's a serial killer and he wanted to go kill a deer. And so my niece and I went into the woods after him. And you could write an entire Dungeons and Dragons story off of just following her around and writing down the things that she says and the craziness that she does. But it's like, that's exactly what I want. I want to be led through an adventure and through a story where the person in charge is like this condescending 8-year-old who's just like, help me cross this bridge. And she holds out her hand expecting you to like help her across, or, across this river. And it's like, no, you can get across there. And she like smacks you on the back of the hand, and it's like, help me across the bridge, and then you help her. We get these walking sticks, and you need them because it's muddy and you're crossing over fallen trees and stuff like that. And I grab mine. It's an appropriately sized walking stick, And she tries to grab this tree that's like 15 feet high. And she's like, I'll take this one. And it's like, you can't carry that. And she's like, I know I can't carry it. You know, like the assumption that I'll carry it for her. And then whenever she needs it to cross, I give it to her, like her scepter. Where's that character? Where's the character that's like, it's like, you can't get away from that because it's your niece. Yeah. And you're like, you little raggle fraggin'. That needs to be, you know, where's that story?
Prissy Princess should definitely be in stuff because it's, what an annoying but endearing character. It's like someone who's never left the castle, but you have to help them because you're by oath or blood or whatever. You know, or oath and blood, like that. Yeah. That's how this goddamn princess. I agree with that. We've gone way off topic. I want to continue, but we need to let these folks go. It's time.
All right.
We do promise the Blood Bowl, more Blood Bowl in the future. At some point, you will get to see it. This is like our fucking like carrot on a stick that maybe doesn't exist now. They're thinking it does.
No. We're getting there. Two things happened that are delaying the process. One, I had a master sheet of it was like our schedule, our rosters, our stats, all of that stuff. That was on my old computer that died, and the Google Drive or the Google Sheet that was on that is lost forever. And then the second part of it was we thought we could go in and just download the old games, and then we would edit those down, and we would just do like a highlight tape for you guys. Downloading the games is not an option. We have to go in, manually get them, and so it's taking time just, you know, combing through the footage and finding what's the good stuff and all of that. It is coming. We are working on it. And I know, like I said, you know, a lot of our fans are clamoring for more Blood Bowl content, so we're just going to keep talking about it until we lose all of our followers.
Welcome to the Dreamlight Valley. What was it? Not Dreamlight Valley. What was that other one? Coral Island.
Oh, yeah.
Look, we did a Stardew Valley episode. What do you want?
Gee, many Christmas. All we do is like our fans calling in, making us do stuff.
Yeah, folks, the fax machine has been down for months now. So we do have an email. Or you can leave a comment and tell us stuff, and we look at them. We got like 3 people watching us, so, you know. You can put it down, and we'll be like, oh, shit. So Timmy over here, Timmy 9022, has left a message, said that he wanted us to talk about Castlevania, Circle of the fucking Moon.
You know, we get a lot of complaints about talking about Blood Bowl and wrestling and all that stuff.
Yeah, lots.
Why don't we have people phoning in and being like, hey, guys, why don't you live stream playing Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 for all of us?
Hey, did you see they're making Xenoverse 3?
Oh, no, I didn't see that. No.
I need to go back and beat Xenoverse 2's story. I was playing it really heavy with my youngest brother, Max. It was very fun. Very fun to play that game 2-player. Especially when Max fucking over-leveled me, and then he was just Goku following me, just like fucking drill kick the bad guy off the fucking screen. I'd be like, I'm ready to fight. And they go, poof. And then I get hit by a guy, and I get drill kicked out of the way like I'm fucking Krillin bouncing around like dong, dong, dong. And like, get him, Maxo-kun. It was a good time. It was fucking fun. You make your own DBZ guy. That's fucking cool.
I love that. I love the Xenoverse games. Those are fun.
There were 3. It was 3-player. You could do 3 on 3. What? Well, it was more than 3. So me and Max could go in together, but you could have another person, and then all 3 of you go in and do story missions and stuff. Really fucking cool game. Xenoverse 1 was really fun. Xenoverse 2, very fucking cool. If you're a hardcore DBZ fan and you kind of liked Budokai / Tenkaichi games, it's there. That game is there. It's so fucking fun. I'm surprised that you haven't played one of the Xenoverse games.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe I will.
You're getting Xenoverse 3 with me, is what I'm saying. They make that crossplay. They better make a fucking crossplay. Hey, devs, make that shit crossplay. I'm not buying your fucking console so I can play with my friend. I won't do it.
We got to let these people go.
Okay.
We got to get out of here.
All right.
Well, See ya.